Hello and welcome to Some Dude Shed. Basically, going to be telling each other a load of stories from the depths of history, and it's up to us to figure out whether they're real or not.
Or the depths of bullshit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's roll. Let's go.
Let's get started. So, my story is from the grand old year of 1814, industrial age, and takes place in merry old London town.
Where?
So, London.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a little village in the south of England. The little village in the south of England is south of Woking. You know Woking?
Wedding?
Woking.
Woking?
Yeah, it's near Woking. London.
Woking.
Never been.
Oh, okay.
Woking.
Is Woking in London, or is it part of London?
Oh, it's next door.
Is this where all the woke shit came from?
No.
No, they weren't woke, they were Woking.
Anyway, so this story starts in a brewery. The brewery is owned by my Moe and Company.
Literally say my mum.
I thought you were about
My
to say
mum.
By Moe and Company, and basically this brewery has gigantic vats of ale.
Sorry.
It was brewing a lot of beer.
Did the Joker fall in if it was acid?
No,
Oh no, where?
oh, that was Two-Face, wasn't it? Or did Joker fall? I don't
No,
know.
No,
Joker-
Two-Face got burnt.
Two-Face got burnt in the Nolan films, but I can't remember how he gets his scars originally. No, the Joker apparently fell into a vat of acid. And that's how he ended up with bleach white skin.
Ah, right, okay.
I have an idea how Two-Face ended up the way he was. I remember driving on a long journey, but the sun was constantly on my left side, and I ended up with sun on the left side of my face, and on the other side it was all just pale.
Dear, oh dear.
There you go. What's happening? Anyway, so
Yeah.
big vats of
Huge
ale.
vats of beer. Each vat could hold about 3,500 barrels.
I thought they called him
So-
Two-Face because he always said bad things behind people's back.
That too.
So these vats were gigantic. Like, they were bigger than this shed. Imagine a shed upright and then like 4 times as big.
Yeah, I've been
And
to
you
the
got roughly the size of a brewer, one of these brewer vats.
I've been to the Guinness factory. Like, I have a rough idea.
But one day, one of the big steel rings holding these big wooden vats together broke. And this led to an awful lot of beer spilling out. The force of it broke 2 more vats. So there were 3 vats of beer, which were gigantic, that broke, and all this beer went out everywhere.
And was Homer Simpson there?
It sent out about 320,000 gallons of beer onto the streets. And this was so much that it led to the collapse of 2 houses, and flooded the streets. Like, literally flooded the street, because it was like it all went down a hill, and there was a bit of a dip where it was, and they ended up like it was like waist high in beer.
It probably would have improved the smell, though. Didn't people just pour all their shit out into the street back then?
Yeah, they did. A lot of them. Yeah, this would be before the sewers in London, so probably wasn't the cleanest beer that was just floating around. But it didn't stop people. A lot of people just, for free beer, they picked it up in whatever bottles or buckets they could get their hands on.
Lovely.
So it led to this big beer flood led to the deaths of 8 people. 8 people. It led to the deaths of 9 people. 8 people crushed by falling houses,
Right.
and 1 person of alcohol poisoning after drinking too much. There was an awful lot of people got drunk, but after a while, people got a bit bored of it because the beer didn't go away for a little while, and apparently continued to smell of beer for like 6 months.
I imagine it
The
would.
whole area. And yeah,
You drop a beer in your kitchen, you're smelling it for a few days. Like,
yeah, and that's basically the story. This was called the Great Beer Flood of London of 1814.
So basically, like,
I thought it was 1840. You said.
1814, sorry.
All right.
So like really quite early on, they were in Georgian times, it's before Victoria.
like tsunami'd a street.
A tsunami of beer, yeah.
Where was this? It was Wokington.
Where was it? It was in London.
Yes, but you said Wokington at the start. What was that?
Oh, that has absolutely nothing to do with it. It was actually in Tottenham Court Road,
Right.
around Tottenham.
And what brand was it? Or
brand
what
was
was
it?
the factory?
It was
who were the
owned by Moe and Company, or Mew and Company. I don't know, MEUX and Company. So
You ever heard of Mew?
this is a
Before
brand.
my
Is it?
time.
This is like from 200 years ago. You know, I don't think the brand's around anymore.
It's not like a Carlsberg, it doesn't survive.
Carlsberg did beer. Their vats wouldn't break.
Oh, here it is. They were making porter ale. Is what it is. Is what the actual type of beer they were making.
So like Guinness.
Is
Guinness
that,
like a
is that porter ale?
I have no idea.
Guinness is a type of ale, isn't it?
yeah, it's an ale, but I don't know if it's like a porter ale or what it's called. I'm pretty sure it is actually.
Well, it was called the beer flood, so I imagine porter ale is a type of beer.
Look up what Guinness is. Guinness. Oh, it's a stout. That's what it is. I mix up port and stout.
What's a stout? I've never even heard of it.
Guinness.
They're all different.
But port is like a wine, actually, isn't it? It's more like a winey kind of thing.
I think so. So yeah, was London flooded by beer
In
in
1814.
1814?
Did this lead to any new regulations of how...
It didn't lead to any new regulations, no. But they kind of moved away from making massive wooden vats and changed to using big concrete ones instead. Concrete being an awful lot tougher than wood.
Did they not make vats out of metal?
Well, not back then, obviously. Those ones were wood.
Yeah, that seems a wee bit early.
For metal?
For a giant metal vat, that something that big made out of metal, yeah, it seems a wee bit early.
And we're talking gigantic. Like these things were 22 feet high. So that's very, very big.
Like, we're only coming into the industrial age there at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean...
Well, to those sort of sizes, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say false.
No more questions about it?
I just can't picture a big tsunami of beer flooding the street and killing people. I don't know, I just can't picture it.
What do you think, Mr. Red?
So how did 9 people died, 1 died alcohol poison. How did 8 people die?
The big tsunami of beer knocked over 2 houses. They were in the houses.
So this factory must have been quite packed. Well, it's London, so it probably would be packed right in with other
Yeah.
buildings.
How many vats?
3 broke.
Oh, 3
vats.
broke?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just one.
Well, one big vat broke,
And then it just
it kind of
domino.
domino affected into the others.
So 3 vats. How many litres each?
Huge.
22 feet high.
I don't know the liters. I got 320,000 gallons is what I've got here, which is an awful lot.
Something I just don't buy it.
Does seem like a period of time you would like to talk about, so that's a yes.
Which means you would like to make something up about that period of time.
Mm.
Yes, but beer, would Mr. Grey go for beer? Though?
He didn't say beer, he said ale.
Same difference.
Beer, ale, same thing.
Sin drink. I'm gonna go true because they've done a lot of stupid things in London. They burnt the place down once.
That's true. Well, I can tell you that that this is actually true. The Great Beer Flood of London is a historical event.
Really?
Yeah, caused by a big brewery which basically busted its barrels. It literally because it was in a bit of a dip, and this was before the underground sewers as well. So when the beer burst, it went into the dip in the ground at the bottom of Tottenham Court Road, and it didn't have anywhere to go. So it just sat there making a big alcoholic swimming pool.
Yeah, I suppose actually, because I kept picturing they did have drains. Or I didn't imagine it without drains, so I suppose it does make sense.
Yeah.
Uh,
I got another fun stat here. The damage done was worth £23,000 in 1814, which is about 1.25 million today. So it was quite a bit of damage done, and that was just to the brewery, not including the poor people's houses.
And the legal fees for all those killings.
Yeah, there were a lot of legal fees as well. They were taken to court, but it was judged to be an act of God. Is what they said. So basically, essentially a natural disaster.
God killed them people.
God stumbled out of the brewery on the way out.
Yeah, so there you go. Great beer flood of London. All right, so who's next?
I'll go next to Mr. Grey.
Excellent.
So 2 guesses where mine takes place.
Is it the Second World War?
How'd you know?
I don't know, just intuition.
Because you still live there, apparently.
Alright, well, my story takes place D-Day, Operation Overlord.
Okay.
Okay, so you're aware of paratroopers dropping into Normandy on the night of the invasion?
With their
The
zombies.
early morning of the invasion.
Yep, I remember Damien Lewis dropping into the Germans.
With the rest of the Easy Company, yeah.
Yep,
You remember?
that was fun.
Well, this is to do with a British part of the operation. Now, there's British paratroopers, a lot of them went in gliders, but they used mannequins.
They don't sound like very good soldiers.
Well, obviously they used normal paratroopers, and gliders and things, and took objectives. But no, they had a diversionary drop. But this didn't actually come to a bit later. So there was the initial drops that took place in the early hours of the morning. So fighting on the ground and chaos started to ensue on the ground. And they had a few other drops that took place coming up to about daybreak. So the Germans would see these. And they would go looking for the paratroopers that came in. But one thing they didn't realise was the paratroopers they dropped in were mannequins.
Right.
And that wasn't the best bit about it. Some of the mannequins had a rather large amount of explosives sewn into them.
False.
Okay.
So whenever the Germans went to check, they were booby trapped. So when they pulled the jackets open, boom.
And this was this was a British plan.
This was a British plan.
You see, if you said it was an American plan, I'd say false straight away. But the British should kind of have a bit of a reputation in the First and Second World War for doing.
Well, you're aware of
kind of silly
Operation.
things.
You're aware of the new movie Operation Mincemeat, so
Yes. It's that's when they basically dress up a corpse
to look like an officer.
to look like an officer that's carrying an important message, and then they just let it drift away in the sea and hope the Germans pick it up, and they did.
They hoped the Spanish picked it up,
Or the
and then
Spanish.
went and told the Germans, which they did,
That's even cleverer. An extra cog.
and it actually worked. I can't remember where they said they were going to invade.
There's something about the Italian invasion.
Yeah, it was the Italian invasion, but they said they were going to invade near Greece to pull attention away from the island of Crete at the bottom of Italy, which worked.
So they reinforced.
They reinforced the Greece sector and pulled forces away from Italy, which could have been used to maybe stop the invasion on the island of Crete. And it was actually Hitler himself that issued that order to be reinforced in Greece.
Brilliant. It's probably Hitler himself as well who decided to not put all the armoured company in Normandy as well, right? Put it in Calais instead.
Yes. Well, he was convinced that the Allies were going to land in Calais.
Yeah.
In case of invasion, armour units were not allowed to be moved without his direct order. So whenever they didn't waken him up, whenever they were aware it's clearly a full-scale invasion, they didn't bother waking him up early because they were too scared to.
It's like, that reminds me of that scene in, when Stalin has a stroke and the guards outside are too scared to go in case they tell him off.
Should we go check it?
Should we go check him? No way. I'm not going in there.
No, he's like, should you shut the fuck up?
Before you get us both killed.
So yeah, would the British Army send mannequins out of their to pushing mannequins out of the plane
Yes.
filled with explosives?
True.
Would there be like a plane full of mannequins, or is it just like one mannequin per plane? Or
No, it'd be like a plane full of mannequins.
right, okay.
Hold on. Who
We'll have
pushed
to make it
them out?
look.
Well, obviously it's not a mannequin that's pushing them out.
There's not a mannequin flying the plane. So it's a DC-17 or D-17. I don't know. It's a troop transport plane and literally just have a rack of mannequins and they're just pushing them out as they go over and it makes it look like a normal paratroop drop. And they left this to later in the day so the Germans would see them.
Yeah, but they didn't. But they didn't send any other paratroopers in during daylight. They all dropped at night, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just this one plane on its own?
No, it's a group of planes. It has to look like a real paratroop drop.
I don't know.
There's
We
so
know
much...
at first I was like, nah. But then you were like, well, when they pull the vest open, it'll like blow up the whatever.
And not all of the mannequins had it.
Just sent some mannequins out in uniform for no reason.
Well, again, it has to look like a proper paratroop drop.
I can't imagine it would. I can't imagine it. As the British were great at silly plans, making them work, but I don't know. I can't imagine that they would booby trap a mannequin.
They're risking like aircraft.
Well, yeah,
Just for a diversion plan.
we're talking about booby trap explosives in an airplane.
You know what? Because it's like what he said earlier on. If he said it was the Americans did it, then it'd be false. But because it's UK, I'll say yeah, sure, true. Britain.
I'm going to say false. My sense of honour is saying no. I don't think the British would booby trap mannequins for the Germans.
This is the same people.
They would be that cruel.
This is the same people who shoved dynamite sticks up dead rats
Dead rats. Well,
in the hopes that they would be thrown into a boiler.
yeah. I know. I'm going to say false. It just seems a bit risky, especially with you're doing it in daylight, so you're doing it after the main landing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So no,
Well, it's not. Whenever I say daylight, it's hardly fully. It's still early in the morning.
yeah,
so there's
but
overcast.
it's light enough to see the planes.
It's light enough to see the plane,
Yeah.
but their fighting on the ground has started.
No, I'm going to say false. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Black saying true, I think.
true just because you're saying false.
Okay. Well, I can tell you, I completely made that up.
I should have just fucking stuck with my gut. I should have.
Oh, well done. It's a good one. I can imagine it being a plan, but it just seemed a little too. It's either too risky, or you're basically sending bombs out of a plane after you've already sent your troops out of a plane, which is the wrong order to do things.
Very good. Very good.
Well, Mr. Black, what have you got for us?
Mine takes place in the modern day.
Oh.
All right. So, in December 2017, a secret government program was revealed to the public. All right. It was called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or AATIP, and it was started by the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency.
Right.
The program began in the year 2007 and operated over 5 years, so until 2012. Yeah, 2012, with $22 million of funding.
Is that all for a US government agency?
5 years?
A US government agency, only 22 million? That's the bit of stuns me. It's only 22 million.
It's a lot of money, isn't it?
This is a
This
country.
is America.
Yeah, it spends nearly $1 trillion on defense every year.
Was there not like a recession then or something? 2007?
Not really.
This program was tasked with studying unidentified flying objects and unexplained aerial phenomena. While the
Aliens, basically.
well, yeah.
Okay.
While the AATIP no longer exists, or does it? The US continues to investigate UFOs.
Was 2015 when they were going on about the alien tapes being released, or was that like 2019?
15, you say?
It was quite
17?
It's a lot more recently than this.
I think it was 2017, actually.
I thought it was way more recent. I think.
Or no, 9.
I thought it was like 2 or 3 years ago, and everyone was gagging for it, and then it just turned out to be a series thing.
And then
Objects seen in the sky, unidentified, at whatever time and location.
And then that pilot was getting interviewed everywhere, wasn't he? He was with Joe Rogan and everything, and he was on like everybody in their shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the 5th of April 2022, after a 4-year battle, The Sun Online, so like the newspaper, but like
yes,
on
a reputable publication.
yes, online, finally got access to 51 classified documents after filing a request on the 18th of December 2017 under the Freedom of Information Act, just days after the program had been made public.
What did they find out?
Contained in these documents are various reports, proposals, and meeting notes. These include biological effects of UFO sightings on humans, radiation burns, apparent abduction, and unaccounted for pregnancies, 42 cases from medical files, and
I'm
300...
going to say that's a very convenient excuse. You know, so you come home pregnant. Your husband asks you what happened, and you just say aliens.
It's like the child seeing alien. 42 cases from medical files, 300 unpublished cases where humans had been injured after anomalous encounters. Now, when we say like UFO, and like, you know, we're not saying it's 100% aliens. We're saying it's like, you know...
A UFO just they don't know what it is.
Yeah, literally, yeah. But whenever they see UFO, they immediately were like, oh, aliens flying that. Other topics include traversable wormholes and stargates, anti-gravity, invisibility cloaks, air-breathing propulsion, tracking hypersonic vehicles.
Yeah, I'm sorry, did you just say air-breathing propulsion?
Yeah.
Well, that was invented in the 40s. In the 30s, actually. But yeah, you carry on.
Are you talking about the long-powered helicopter machine?
Yeah, the long-powered flying machine.
But this is for space.
Oh, right, okay. Carry on.
So it'd be a lot like, woof, you know, you'll fly, all the pressure. Tracking hypersonic vehicles, quantum space communication, negative energy, nuclear propulsion, warp drives, dark energy, manipulation of extra dimensions, and a proposed plan to tunnel through the moon using nuclear explosions to mine the moon's core, containing a huge abundance of lightweight metal, which is as strong as steel, but 100,000 times lighter.
That's a theory, though, isn't it?
Pretty well. I mean, if they're saying it's there, then it must be.
And warp drive as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what the US government has on warp drive. Moving on.
Well, I didn't read the document, but it probably says, like, you know,
Star
we
Trek.
should make these.
Oh, right, okay.
But yeah, that's it. So, true or false?
So what's the true or false statement here?
Yeah.
We can round it up into one sentence.
Right. U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency gave the Sun online classified UFO documents, and they wanted to nuke the moon for the mine in the moon.
Right. Okay. What did the Sun do with these documents?
They just reported them. Like, look what we got.
Oh, okay, that actually makes sense for a newspaper. What do you think, Mr. Red?
Only 22 million for a government department? I don't believe that bit.
That's the hardest bit.
Yeah, it's the US we're talking about.
They didn't want to nuke the fucking moon.
No, they sent nearly as much as that for gender studies in Pakistan.
What if the department was just like 2 people, not like Mulder and Scully? X-Files.
Did you ever see the movie The Iron Giant?
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy, the government guy from that, he's from that department, I think.
You know what the most mind-blowing thing about the Iron Giant is?
What was that?
Voiced by Vin Diesel.
Oh, I know.
Rock tree.
That's where they decided he could voice Groot as well.
Yeah, I am Groot.
Yeah.
Family.
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 Family. Family.
Every time one of those Fast and Furious movies comes out,
It's
those
just a gold
memes
mine.
are just everywhere.
Yeah.
Family.
I'm gonna say true because we're talking about after all those UFO videos have been released, right?
Yeah, when did you come up with this? Or when did you write this? Or
Why that matter? Today. Is that bad?
See, he sent me a UFO video. It was last night.
Well, I didn't. Well, yeah.
The thing was 2 hours long, so I only watched a bit of it. So it's whether it might have been mentioned in there, or he thought
That was either the inspiration of a story or a follow-on from reading a real
It's
story.
pure coincidence. It's pure coincidence.
And what's the department called again?
The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program.
No, but the department, as in like the US.
U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency.
I'm gonna say true. Sounds believable to me.
The DIA, as opposed to the CIA.
22 million though. Like I really can't wrap it.
To investigate UFOs
The US government.
And unwanted pregnancies.
and unwanted pregnancies.
Yeah. Sure, you saw the bit in Men in Black, where a woman was giving birth in the back of a taxi, and then
Well, they were definitely funded with more than 22 million.
Their suits cost more than.
Mm.
And they had to hire Will Smith. He's not cheap.
he's cheaper now, probably.
That's a burn right there.
Mm-hmm. They said he could get burned by UFO. Stand too close to it.
So, Mr. Red, do you think the US government gave the X-Files to the Sun?
They didn't give it to any other newspaper outlet, or
Nah, the Sun.
I guess the Sun just asked first.
but the Sun, a UK newspaper, and this is a US department.
Yeah.
The Sun does deal in that kind of rubbish. We get a lot of our headlines from the Sun.
Because they filed a Freedom of Information Act thing. And they were like, oh, fuck, we have to give it now.
No, if I wanted to do that, you'd have to be a citizen of the country, would you not?
Would you?
You just have to ask somebody to ask for them.
Is the Sun in America or is it
The
UK?
Sun's owned by News Corp,
Which is the Murdoch Group.
which is the Murdoch Group, and he's got his fingers in every pie around the world. So
Yeah. So I suppose it would just be a matter of them asking.
yeah.
Because you sent those videos last night, I'm gonna go false because I think you're just.
But it was a coincidence.
I think it was inspiration.
No, well, I mean, so you would believe me if I wrote it before I sent you the video? Well, no, because then it would be...
You watched we watched videos of do with aliens, and you come up with an alien story today. Like that's kind of what it looks like.
So, well, is it real or not?
I'm gonna go
What do
false. Yeah,
What are you going
I'll say true.
Yeah, that's true.
there you go.
Oh, well, there you go.
Really hoping to get both these. There you go. Go on.
That's how that is for anybody listening. For all you people out there, if you're a journalist, all you got to do is ask sometimes.
I thought what was going to trip you was 51 documents. Area 51 documents.
No, I just couldn't believe the fact that they only spent 22 million on it.
I didn't pick up.
It was
I
probably
didn't
just
pick up
two
on that.
dudes in jeans in this office. That's probably what it was. But I actually do have a link to the documents, so you can have some light recreational reading on your own later on.
Ooh.
Well, that'll be fun.
I'll forward those to you, both of you, if you just want to read them. You can read about your air blown flying thing, whatever they called
Or the long-powered flying machine.
it. Yeah, you blow into your spacesuit. You go forward.
Brilliant.
Fair enough. And until next time.
And yeah, I think that's our story over. If you have been personally affected by any of the stories that we've gone through today, if you've been abducted by aliens or nearly drowned in beer, please let us know.
If you had an alien baby.
Till next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.